The Ringing Cedars, Series 39, Anastasia, Book 1, Vladimir Meager. Strong People, Part 2. I will help you now. It's simple. You close your eyes, lie down on the grass, hands at your side, you need to relax. Imagine the whole earth, try to see its color and the bluish light it emits. Then narrow the radiation of your mental image, not encompassing the whole earth with it, but narrow it down more and more, until you see concrete details. Look for people where there is more bluish light. Narrow your radiation more and more, and you will see one man or several. Let's try again with my help. I did everything she said in my mind, and a not-so-clear image appeared before me of the three of them sitting at the table and excitedly exchanging words. I did not understand their words. I didn't hear any conversation at all. No, said Anastasia, they are not entrepreneurs at all. Now we will find them. She managed her airship, breaking into large and small offices, closed clubs, lounges and brothels. The blue light was either very weak, or there was none at all. Look. It is already night there, and he is still sitting in the smoky office alone. Something is not going right for this entrepreneur. And look at him, how happy he is, in the pool. And the girls next to him. He is drunk, but there is no light. He just wants to forget about something, his complacency is artificial. This one is at home. Here is his wife, the child is asking him something. Telephone. Here, please, he became serious again, even his relatives were left aside. And again, one after the other, the most diverse situations were illuminated, outwardly beautiful, and not quite beautiful. Until we came across a terrible scene. Suddenly a room appeared, most likely in an apartment, quite impressive, although a man with a torn shirt, tied hands and feet and bloody forehead was tied to the chair, and his mouth was taped with brownish tape. At the table sat two young, solidly built men, one with short hair, the other with neatly combed hair. A young woman was sitting in an armchair at a distance. Her mouth was also taped shut, she was tied under her breasts with a rope that tied her to the chair. Each of her legs was tied to the legs of the armchair. A gray-haired man oversaw it all. A man was sitting next to her, drinking something, probably cognac. Those sitting at the table did not drink. On the man, who was tied and then thrown on the floor, they poured liquid, vodka or alcohol, on his chest and set him on fire. Cleaning, I understood. Anastasia moved a ray away from this scene. But I shouted, bring it back. Do something. She returned this scene and answered. Don't laugh. Everything has already happened. This must not be stopped, it should have been done earlier, now it is too late. I watched as if bewitched, and suddenly I clearly saw the eyes of the woman full of fear, not begging for mercy. Then do it. At least do something if the heavens are in your favor. I shouted to Anastasia. But that is not in my power, it is as if it had already been planned, not by me, I cannot directly interfere. They are stronger now. So where is your kindness now, where are your powers? Anastasia was silent. The terrible scene darkened a little. And then suddenly the man who was drinking cognac disappeared. I suddenly felt weakness in my body. I also felt that my hand, which was touched by Anastasia, started to go numb. I heard her somewhat weakened voice. Hard to pronounce words, she spoke, put your hand away, Bladen. She couldn't even say the end of my name. Standing up, I moved my hand away from Anastasia. The arm was hanging as if numb, as it happens when your arm or leg goes numb from sitting for a long time, and it was all white. I moved and the numbness started to pass. I looked at Anastasia and got scared. Her eyes were closed. The redness disappeared from the face, it seemed that there was not even a drop of blood. She lay as if dead. The grass around her was also pale and shriveled. I realized that something terrible had happened. Anastasia. What happened to you, Anastasia? But she didn't respond at all to my exclamation. Then I grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her no longer firmly, but her softened body. And all the same, her completely pale, bloodless lips remained silent. Can you hear me, Anastasia? She barely raised her eyelashes, and her dead eyes looked at me, almost without any expression. I grabbed the water bottle, raised my head and tried to give her water, but she couldn't swallow. I looked at her and thought frantically what to do. Finally her lips barely moved and whispered. Take me to another place. By a tree. I lifted her softened body and carried her away from where the grass was pale, and placed her by a nearby cedar. After some time, she slowly started to come to her senses, so I asked her. What happened to you, Anastasia? I tried to do what you asked, she answered quietly and immediately added, I think I succeeded in that. But you look so bad, you almost got hurt. I violated the laws of nature. I got involved in what I shouldn't get involved in. It took all my strength, energy. I'm surprised she was enough. Why did you dare if it's so dangerous? I had no way out. You wanted it. I was afraid not to fulfill your request, I was afraid that you would completely stop respecting me. You will think that I only talk, I always talk. And I don't succeed in anything in real life. But I cannot explain to you how it is done, how this natural mechanism works. I feel it, but I can't explain it so that it would be understandable to you, and your scientists probably won't be able to understand it yet either. She lowered her head, fell silent, gathered her strength. Now you will think even more that I am not normal or that I am a witch. And I suddenly really wanted to do something nice for her, but what? I wanted to say that I consider her a normal, ordinary person, a beautiful and smart woman. I suddenly remembered how her great-grandfather greeted her. I knelt down on one knee in front of Anastasia, took her pale and slightly cold hand, kissed it and said, if you are truly abnormal, then you are the best, sweetest, smartest and most beautiful of all abnormals. A smile finally touched Anastasia's lips, her eyes looked at me gratefully. A blush began to appear on the cheeks. Anastasia, the picture is quite dark. Did you choose her specifically? I was looking, at least for an example, well, but I didn't find it. They all have their own problems, there are almost no spiritual touches in them. So what to do, what can you suggest, apart from sympathizing with them? But I have to tell you, these are strong people, entrepreneurs. Very strong, she agreed, and interesting. They seem to live two lives in one life. One life, known only to them and even hidden from their neighbors, the other, external, to the environment. And they should be helped by strengthening their spiritual and sincere relationship with each other. It takes an open aspiration to achieve purity of intention. Anastasia, I will certainly try to do what you asked. I will also try to write a book and create an association of entrepreneurs with pure intentions, but only as I understood it. It will be difficult for you. I can't give you enough help, because I have little strength left. I will renew my strength for a long time. I won't be able to see through the beam for a while yet. Well, I can't see you very well with my naked eye either. So are you going blind, Anastasia? I think everything will come back. I'm just sorry that I won't be able to help you for a while. You don't need to help me, Anastasia. You try to spare yourself for your son, and help others. I had to go, catch the ship. After waiting until she at least regained her former appearance, I set off towards the motorboat. Anastasia grabbed the handle on the bow and pushed him away from the shore. The motorboat sped away, pulled by the current. Anastasia was standing almost knee-deep in water. The lap of her long skirt was wet and rippling on the waves. I pulled the ignition cord. The engine rumbled, breaking the silence that had become commonplace after 3 days, and the motorboat jerked forward, constantly accelerating and accelerating, leaving the taiga hermit standing alone on the shore. Suddenly, Anastasia suddenly got out of the water and ran along the shore to catch up with the motorboat. She was trying to run very fast, probably using all her strength, trying to do the impossible, reach the fast motorboat. But even she couldn't do that. The distance between us slowly increased. I felt sorry that she was trying in vain, and wanting to end the painful moment of parting as soon as possible, I pressed the gas lever with all my might. The thought crossed my mind that Anastasia might think that I was scared of her again and ran away. The hysterical rumble of the engine made the bow rise above the water, which made it speed forward more and more, increasing the distance between us even more. And she... God! What is she doing? Anastasia picked up her wet skirt that got in the way of her running, threw the torn clothes aside. She ran with greater ferocity. And the impossible happened, the distance between her and the motorboat began to decrease. An almost steep slope could be seen on the road in front of her. Continuing to press the gas lever, which was already not yielding to the pressure, I thought that it would stop because of the slope, and how this, for me, painful scene would end. But Anastasia continued her fierce race, occasionally stretching her arms in front of her, as if feeling out the space with them. Is her eyesight so weak, she can't see the slope? Anastasia, without slowing her speed at all, climbed the slope, fell to her knees, raised her hands to the sky and cried out. I heard her voice through the wild roar of the engine and the sound of the water, as if I heard a whisper. In front is a shallow, sunken logs. Quickly turning my head, not yet able to fully understand what was happening, I turned the rudder so suddenly that the motor boat, heading towards the side, almost grabbed the water, tilting to the side. The huge sunken log was pointing one end into the shallows, and the other, barely sticking out of the water, only slightly hit the side of the speeding motorboat. In the case of a direct impact, it would certainly break through its thin aluminum bottom without hindrance. Having already sailed through the river channel, I glanced at the shore and whispered to a lonely tiny figure standing in the distance and turning into an ever smaller dot. Thank you, Anastasia.